To invest successfully and gain out of it, you need to look at companies' fundamentals and understand their ratios. If you don't want to lose money in the market, then you need to study the company and all of its ratios to gauge what is the quality of the company and its management's efficiency. So if you want to understand all of these, watch this video and understand how to analyze ratios and company's efficiency. So let's begin. In today's video, I'm analyzing Tata Motors, and in its peer group comparison, I'm going to compare Ashok Leyland with Tata Motors. The current market cap or the value of the company in the market is 57,500 crores and the current price is 174 rupees. The price is nearing its 52-week highest point of 202 rupees and it had gone low as 63 rupees. So this is the time when, if we want to buy into a company, this is the time that we should buy when it goes more than 50% of its 52-week highest point or falls at least 50% from its highest 52-week price point. The current price earning is not there due to the current year's losses that the company has incurred. The current book value or the net worth or the actual value of each share as per the company is 201 and the current price is 174. So we are getting it at a discount to its net worth or book value. 3 years back the book value was 330 rupees and from there also it has seen a significant drop due to losses being incurred by the company over the years. Dividend yield is zero because the company has not made any profits in the latest year. Return on capital employed and ROE both are in negatives, again because of losses in March 2020. Company's per share face value is 2 rupees. The market cap 3 years back was 1,34,000 and it has seen a significant drop in the latest year or up to date till 57,555 crores. Market cap even 5 years back was quite high, above 1 lakh crores. From there also it has seen a continuous drop over the last 3 years and then currently at 57,000 crores. Company's equity shares in the market outstanding is 309 crores. The way to understand these ratios is by watching my older videos or videos which are published earlier around 3 months, 4 months back. You can find these videos in the playlist section, the English playlist section. There you can find out these videos and there I've explained each of these companies in detail and what these ratios mean. OPM over last 5 years is 9.9%, quite low. I want my companies on an average of last 5 years earn at least 15%. Return over last 1 year is mere 4.7%, a very low return for investors' wealth. In fact, if we see last 3 and 5 years, we can see that if somebody had invested 3 or 5 years back, they would have suffered compounded losses of 25% in terms of the price of the share, or the price would have dropped by around 25% last 3 years compounded, which is a significant drop or loss in investors' wealth. Company's debt is quite huge at 1,24,788 crores against the balance sheet size of 3,20,000 crores. Debt preceding year was 1,06,000 and 3 years back it was 78,000. So the company's debt has been increasing gradually over the years and currently it stands at 1,24,000. Interest is 7,523 crores of the recent 12 months, which is a very small portion of the overall debt. So the company's interest cost is managed very well. Debtor days is 15 days currently and 3 years back it was 19. So the company's collection efficiency has increased over the years. The current investment by the company is around 16,000 crores in nominal value when compared to the balance sheet. We want a balance of all the different assets that the company has in its balance sheet. None of the assets should occupy a substantial portion of the balance sheet. Cash equivalent is 33,000, almost slightly above 10% of cash holding, which is normal for most of these companies. Receivables and payables are 11,000 and 63,000 individually. Receivables is very low when compared to the balance sheet size and also against the revenue generated. So the company is efficiency wise collecting very quickly from its customers. Payable, it has to make around 63,000 crores of payment to its suppliers a big portion when considered against the balance sheet size, but that not that significant to be worried about, which would be approximately around 20% of the balance sheet size, which is given, which is very normal. The working capital is positive, which means that it has enough assets to pay off its current liabilities. So this is also good. Current assets of the recent 12 months is 1,27,000. 3 years back it was 95,000. So it has increased its assets over the years. And this company, being capital intensive, would require a lot of investments in assets. Company has made losses in the current year, and therefore its debt to profit ratio, that is how many years it would require to pay off the debt using the profit, is in negative, which actually does not make sense, because the company has to eventually pay off these debt, and if it doesn't make profits, how would it pay the debt? So understanding these ratios are very important. Sales to market cap valuation ratio is 0.26, so we are getting it at a discount. So it is generating revenues more than its market cap, at least in the recent 12 months. So which is a good valuation ratio. Profits over last 5 years in total is 16,500 crores, which is quite low, because in many of these 5 years it has also made losses and gains. So net 16,000, but when we look at the cash generated over the years is 1,37,000 crores, which is a good value against the balance sheet size as of today. Even out of this cash flows earned over 5 years, the company does not have anything left free to pay off as either dividend or bonus or buyback or for paying off the loans. In fact, it has invested all of its cash into purchase of assets. So no free cash, in fact negative. It has to invest additional 9,798 crores into the business. Moving on, let us look at the price movement over the last 5 years. Around 5 years back, the company's shares were trading at around 399 rupees, and since there it has seen a significant fall, and currently it is at 171 rupees. So the investor who had invested 5 years back has always seen a degrowth in their asset value or their investment value. Now whenever we want to buy into this company, always buy where it is above its 200-day moving average. That is what everybody generally does. But I, as a technical investment perspective, I would invest when it reaches a certain point in the RSI technical chart. So if you want to learn about either fundamentals or technicals, you can get in touch with me over email address, and I conduct one-to-one classes where I teach about all the fundamental and technical analysis in detail. So if you can get in touch with me through email, I can let you know the process of contacting me and starting the classes. So currently it is at 171 rupees and above its 200-day moving average. Generally I wouldn't buy when it goes above 200-day moving average, but many people do invest here and then they get stuck because they bought already high or quite high. So you have to look at the support resistance levels, then you have to look at the RSI indicator levels where it is, and then make your informed decision, also based on fundamental as well as technical. The company's current price earning is negative because, and that is why it's not shown on the chart, but otherwise the last that we see is somewhere around 31 times, whereas the current median price earning is at 13 times the earnings. That is, price is around 13 times its earnings, which is quite low, and we need to wait at least for the company to turn profitable and give us a price to earning of at least 13.5 times to invest in. Performance wise, company's revenues have been increasing consistently except for these two latest quarters of June and September. Otherwise the revenues have always been increasing, but there has always been a margin pressure, and many of these quarters the company has gone into losses due to major write-offs in their asset value as well as goodwill. So over the years, as far as September 30th is concerned, it had made a loss of around 0.57, that is net loss margin was around 0.5%, and although it had earned an operating profit margin of 11.3%, it could not sustain that due to high interest cost as well as high depreciation due to huge amount of assets that it has. Let us look at its positives and negatives. Currently it is trading at a discount to its book value, and therefore at least valuation wise we are getting it at a good price. Company's interest coverage is very low, in fact in negative because of losses in the recent years. It has also seen drop in its overall revenue generated from where it was 5 years back at around 0.16% compounded over the last 5 years. ROE over the last 3 years is turned negative, meaning on an average it has made losses in the last 3 years, and therefore it has in fact given negative returns on shareholders' money. Company might be capitalizing the interest cost, that is they may be hiding the interest cost so that the losses don't go up, and therefore they are moving those interest costs into the cost of the assets itself. This is just a general statement. They may or they may not be doing it. We'll need to check it out in their financial statement. In the peer group comparison, I am looking at Tata Motors with Ashok Leyland and see at least out of these two which is the better one and where we can put our money if we do want to, or completely ignore them as of now. So both of these companies are into automobile manufacturing. They are both into light as well as heavy commercial vehicles as well as consumer vehicles, passenger vehicles. Tata Motors is currently trading at 173 rupees per share and Ashok Leyland at 88. Both the stocks are down by approximately less than 15% from their 52-week highest point. Quarterly result is up to date till September and annual data is up to date till March 2020. Let us look at the quarterly sales figure as well as profit values. Sale has seen for Tata Motors a drop of 18% over its previous September quarter, and Ashok Leyland has seen a 24% drop in its overall revenue generation. Profit wise, Ashok Leyland has turned negative or into losses from being positive 44 crores, whereas Tata Motors has seen a 54% drop in its overall losses. That is, losses have extended from 216 crores in the previous quarter to around 314 crores in the latest quarter. If you look at the entire year's sales with the recent 12 months, both the company's revenue generation over the 12-month period has decreased compared to March 2020 from 2,61,000 crores for Tata Motors in March 2020 to 2,19,000 crores, and for Ashok Leyland from 21,000 crores to 15,000 crores. So Ashok Leyland is quite a small company when compared against Tata Motors, almost 1/10 of Tata Motors in terms of size. In terms of profits or losses that the company has done, Tata Motors losses have in fact increased from where it was in March 2020 at 9,700 crores to almost 14,249 crores. So the losses have further increased, whereas Ashok Leyland has turned negative 365 crores of losses in the recent 12 months compared to the profits it had made in the entire March 2020. In terms of cash generation, Tata Motors has generated, although it is showing losses in March 20, but it has in fact generated around 26,632 crores of cash. Now that could be due to write back of depreciation which was deducted from the P&L account, and other write backs which may have got deducted because they were of non-cash nature. You need to go into cash flow statement individually to understand what I'm saying about the cash flow from operations. Ashok Leyland's cash generation is 383 crores in March 20. So both of these companies' cash, at least from operating activity, was positive, although Tata Motors has suffered a loss in March 20. 5 years price earning was around 12 times for Tata Motors and 24 times for Ashok Leyland. Both quite reasonable, at least price earning wise, on a long term average basis. But both price earning is not there because they both suffered losses in the latest quarter, or the recent 12 months rather. Price to cash wise, Tata Motor is available at a very good value of just 2 times. That is, it is generating a huge amount of cash against the market cap of the company. That is, market cap is just 2 times away from where it was generating cash in 2020. Whereas Ashok Leyland's cash generation is very low compared to its price in the market. Ashok Leyland is trading at a hefty premium to its net worth of almost 3.5 times, whereas Tata Motors is available at a discount. In terms of growth rate in profits and sales, Tata Motors profits have seen a degrowth over both last 5 and 3 years, and sales has also seen a negative growth, or revenues have also consistently dropped by around 1%, not that significant. Whereas Ashok Leyland's profits have seen over the last 5 years growing by around 19%, but in the recent 3 years has seen quite a drop of almost 32%, whereas sales has seen a drop around 1.36% over the last 3 years. So both of these companies are seeing some kind of pressure in the recent 3 years. Return on equity over the long term is very low for Tata Motors at just 4.69% for the last 5 years average, and Ashok Leyland has generated a good return of around 20% on the investors' money. Whereas in the recent 12 months, the ROE has turned negative 15%. That is, the company has made losses even in the recent 12 months. Compare that with Ashok Leyland, at least it is still making some profits of around 5.8% on shareholders' money. In terms of return on capital employed, 6.3% for Tata Motors and 14% for Ashok Leyland. So efficiency wise, Ashok Leyland looks good, although it is like 1/10 the size of Tata Motors, and even in the recent 12 months it has generated 8.85% capital employed. In terms of assets, return on assets over the last 5 years on average has been 2%, and Ashok Leyland at 6.3%. So this again keeps showing up in efficiency as to how well the company is generating cash on the total assets deployed into the company. So we want the companies to generate more and more profits on the assets, on the capital employed, on the equity, and so on. Company's assets turnover is good for Tata Motors at 1.4 times. That is, its revenue generation is around 1.4 times higher than the asset it owns, whereas Ashok Leyland's revenue is a point or even less than what assets it has employed into the business. Whereas inventory wise, both are equal, almost 4.4 times for Tata Motors and 5.85 times for Ashok Leyland. So both of them are managing their inventory and sales values well. When we look at the long term profits, cash flows and free cash flows, both of these companies have a negative free cash flow. Profits over the last 5 years for Tata Motors was 16,500 crores, and the cash generated was 1,37,000 crores for Tata Motors, which is a huge sum, but we see that it still didn't have anything left as free cash over these last 5 years because of heavy investments in the business of setting up fixed assets and so on. So 9,798 crores of negative free cash flow, that is, additional cash has gone out of the business other than the cash earned through operating activity. Ashok Leyland has seen a profit of 6,900 crores but still does not have any positive cash flows, in fact negative cash. In fact, cash has gone out of the business through operating nature of almost 2,900 crores. Over and above that, there is no free cash flow left. There is an excess 6,455 crores gone out of the business. So I don't like this kind of numbers where there's no cash coming in as well as no free cash flow being generated by the company. This would be much better where at least the cash is coming in, although most of it is being utilized back into the business. So on an average, Tata Motors is earning around 3,299 crores over the last 5 years every year, and Ashok Leyland is generating around 1,391 crores. So efficiency wise, this should have been at least 13,000 crores of average profit because Tata Motors is almost 10 times the size of Ashok Leyland. Current market cap of Tata Motors is 57,000 crores against the net worth of 62,211 crores. So it's available at a discount to its net worth, whereas Ashok Leyland is trading at 3 times its actual net worth. The company is quite small at just 7,285 crores, but in the market it has been given a huge premium of around 26,000 crores. Both the companies have a very small contingent liability, not that substantial, but the debt of both the companies is very high at above 2 times its equity base, and interest coverage is also very low, in fact negative because of losses for Tata Motors. And even though Ashok Leyland is making profits, it doesn't have enough coverage, interest coverage, to pay its interest cost. That is, its EBIT is even less than the interest that it is paying. Promoter holding is good for both the companies, above 40%, and both the companies have although pledged, but it is not that significant, should not be about 20%. Debtors to sales ratio for both the companies is very nominal a very good efficiency in terms of collecting payment from the customers quickly and not letting it balloon up. In terms of collection, how fast the company is collecting payment, 15 days for Tata Motors, which is very efficient, whereas Ashok Leyland is taking around 24 days to collect payment from the customers. Quite high compared to Tata Motors. Ashok Leyland has made a very low NPM margin of just 2%, whereas Tata Motors has suffered NPM loss or other losses of around 3.7%. Both of these companies are not paying any substantial dividend over the recent 12 months. So this concludes my analysis of Tata Motors with Ashok Leyland. I generally would avoid both of these companies. I would wait for them to improve their performance over at least 3-year period and then decide. Even if I have to buy high, I don't mind waiting, but I would not want to buy into these companies at these fundamental values. And even if I do go for them, then I'll also check the technical chart based on RSI where I can buy into these companies. So if this video was helpful to you, consider subscribing and sharing it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching this video.